Welcome to the Drunkduck Quackcast. We're on Quackcast number 692, and we're going to talk about benevolent racism and sexism. Okay, guys. Hello, Baines. Hello, Tons.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. All right, theme music time. Theme music. So, yes, Quackcast number 692, and talking about benevolent racism and benevolent sexism, which is a really interesting topic. Tance, how did you describe it again? You were like well-meaning. People trying to be well-meaning, but being racist unintentionally or just through their own lack of knowledge or lack of sensitivity. So, that's what we're going to talk about. But before we do that, we have to get into the featured comic. Quackcast is going to tell us about that. And it's basically just the Drunkduck Awards. So, Quack, tell us about the Drunkduck Award.
Go vote.
All right, yeah, go vote. Go vote.
Hello, my name is Quackcast. Hello. The feature for this week, hello, Drunkduck Awards 2024, hello, hosted by Nicia, hello, rated E for everyone. Can you hear the comics singing the songs of musicals? It is a project run by community members that is so jovial. 936,047 comics uploaded to the Duck's official database. Who am I? 36947. Welcome to the 16th Annual Drunkduck Awards, 2024 edition. This year's awards is hosted by the Master of Ceremonies, Nicia. The awards have a musical theme, which has a nice ring to it. So have out a dancing cane, top hat, and your finest tapping shoes, and join in on the festivities. Everyone is invited, and the ballot box is open from June 9th to July 6th, 2024. The winning designer of the 2024 Award Design Contest is MKS Monsters. Sing along to the Jellicle comics made by Jellicle Ducks and read Drunkduck Awards 2024 by Nicia, rated E.
That was Quackcast talking about the featured comic, which was the awards. Okay, so after that we have the Drunkduck music Gummalus has given us. Well, he hasn't given us anything because he's sick with COVID. So I'm going to pick something, a best of, and what I picked was
Space Repair Garage the comic. Groove into this easy-going, saucy space symphony of high-tech, bleep-blooping cool. You'll be carried along on a flaming column of power as it slowly ramps up to epic proportions and then be left alone, coasting in space as it suddenly cuts out. So take it away, Gummalus, with your theme to Space Repair Garage the comic, which originally appeared in Quackcast number 415.
And that was Gummalers with...
Space Repair Garage the comic, rated E by Ninja Bait. Read it.
Okay, so now we're talking about benevolent racism, benevolent sexism. So it's like, yeah, the well-meaning, people being well-meaning, but, being racist or being sexist. A really good example of this, with someone actually being that kind of character, was if you've ever seen The League of Gentlemen, which was this fantastic comedy series, British comedy series with these 3 actors, Reece Shearsmith, and a couple of others. I can never remember their names. And one of them was this, one of the guys played this elderly uncle kind of guy who would, walk up to someone with a wheelchair or, who's blind or something like that and sit next to them and go, oh, I see you're blind. Oh, well, oh, God. Oh, yes, that must be fun. Oh, yes, you could go around and pretend to, you could touch the lady's boobs and pretend, oh, God, oh, sorry, oh, I didn't mean, like he's trying to be, like, positive about this stuff, but he's just being an absolute dick. Yeah, like, really kind of showing how this benevolent, ableism, I suppose, is, just really, really shitty. So, yes. Okay, so what a good example of this? What I brought up before in our video cast was the idea of like the noble savage, and that sort of morphed into things like the magical Negro character, which was exemplified by the Driving Miss Daisy thing, where you've got that actor, that famous actor that everyone likes, him narrating things. But yeah, basically, the magical Negro, they started off really early in American film cinema with these guys like, you've got this nice maid, black maid character who is like, really friendly to everyone, and, she takes care of the little girls, and she's really wonderful and stuff like that. But, why would she have been that friendly in reality? She's just representing that kind of stereotype. Or you have the nice black man who, comes in and like cares for little kids, and he's all, fantastic, and, he gives fantastic good advice, and that became a staple even in American cinema, where this wise old black man would give, this magical kind of good advice, but like in reality, that person would have been looked down upon, and they would have had, social issues and all this kind of stuff, and it wouldn't have. They just.
Or they.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, or they. Sorry. Just want to add a couple more examples, like being magical and the answer to everything. Like in Prince of Thieves, Morgan Freeman was like this Moorish.
Morgan Freeman, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, who basically could do everything from being amazing at sword fighting to being able to deliver a baby with complications and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, you have a bit of crossover there with positive representation, which was really good. So you've got so we have an excuse to put like black people in a positive way in a medieval, historical fantasy, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and also they have like a triple thing going, because he was also Muslim, and they, and not granted, I mean, objectively, at the time they were more technologically advanced. Like Muslim nations were more technologically advanced during the medieval times, or at least some part of the medieval times. So he's portrayed as a Renaissance man, going to the savages of Britain, in a sense. So
yes, but I mean, in reality, I mean, the sad truth is, like, that wouldn't probably have been a black man who was in that kind of role in the Arab world. It would have been one of like the Arab people, but people have. That's another weird racist trope, is the Moor. That started like centuries ago, where Europeans would call any black person a blackamoor or blackmore. because obviously there was the whole issue of like Christians invading the Holy Land, and these people would have slightly darker skin, and they would be characterized by their darker skin, and the term blackamoor came about. So we have Moors being characterized, being like mistakenly thought of as being like really kind of dark-skinned people, but Moors are North African. They're basically like more Arabic sort of thing. So there's that kind of weirdness. But yeah, I mean, multiple layers of benevolent racism, but good aspects of it, which was the representation, which is more for our present world rather than the past.
Yes. No, I mean, Morgan Freeman absolutely carried that movie. He was amazing there. And I think that was the first time I actually saw him as an actor. And I really liked him. So.
It might have been one of the first things I saw him in, too, actually. Although I was a fan of The Electric Company when I was a kid. He was on that.
Oh, really?
That's a whole thing, yeah. Which I think he doesn't like talking about.
Well, it's weird, to watch him in that film in Prince of Thieves, and he's a big buff guy, and you watched him since, and he's a very frail man and everything else. So that's surprising. Seeing, Morgan Freeman as an action man, which he hasn't been since. But because he's an older guy now, but still. Benevolent racism. So this does sort of crop up in the noble savage thing, which is the other kind of noted thing where we have, for Native Americans, this is something that massively affects them, and oh yes, my spiritual name and all this kind of stuff, and hear it on the wind and blah blah blah, and like that kind of thing would seem like a positive thing because it's making them seem like very in touch with the spiritual nature or whatever. But in reality, usually it's like imposed upon them as a second prize. It's like, you don't have all the benefits that the rest of the community has, but at least you're more spiritual. At least you got that going for you, And that's what tends to always happen with Native groups. They always have this imposed. It's not just like Native Americans. It's like Aboriginal Australians or Native people in Russia or Native people in Japan, Ainu, all this kind of stuff. It's like it's universal. They all have that as this weird, stupid, second consolation prize.
Yeah, and speaking of that, way back when we were designing characters for Brave Resistance with Pit Face, she brought us in contact with an actual Native American Onondaga person who talked to us about how a person like Hunter would be, and the culture and how they act and the day-to-day behaviors and all that. And let me tell you, it was, for me, I wish I could have more occasions to talk to this guy and to learn more about it and learn more about the shared diversity that exists in those nations, within them and across them, all of that. But the biggest thing that he wanted us to make sure to not do is to present him as this weirdly like a avatar of nature sort of guy who and he said that since he's from this place and that place, and then because we gave him all the parameters that we needed for Hunter, who is our Native American guy in Greece, he said that he would have these elements in his personality. You have to build them in. And that's how we made him be a guy that has his own issues and problems with his identity, but more so with the world around him as a Native American person. So I'm proud of us for this. And
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, because basically the hiatus is not going to end. We have agreed with Pitface for me to just upload the rest of the script so people know what happens and how it ends. So I should get around to doing that.
Cool.
Soon. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a really positive depiction in Brave Resistance, in that he really is a normal human being, because he's basically an American. That's his main trait in Greece. So rather than the whole stereotype of, like you say, the avatar of nature, which it's like I say, we had it with Australian Aboriginals. They used to be depicted as these kind of friendly people who would always be there to help, and would help someone lost in the bush. They would just magically help, and they could magically track anything because they could listen to the wind and see this. It was just obvious kind of bullshit, but people thought they were being positive, and people thought they were being really kind of good representations by doing that. I mean, and it is, in a way, it does have a place, because when there's racism and when there's people not looking up to a group and not respecting them, you have to sort of create some kind of respect in some kind of way, like put the foot in the door. But then you got to grow out of it, and you treat them as like real human beings rather than magical creatures. This is the normal person, not the spiritual native. Yeah, but we did this, with Asian people, like South Asian people. They used to always be treated as these magical martial arts fighters who they all know how to do martial arts, and they're all in touch with their Buddhism. They all have their tea ceremony, and yes, you have to do our tea, so you have to bow and take your shoes off and all this, because you have to be, interact with us in our spiritual culture ways, and to accept the chi in your life, all that Mr. Miyagi bullshit. And that was
either that or math.
that's a later stereotype, but so that was we had Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, people like that. They sort of came out of that stereotyping stuff, but they did come out of. I mean, Bruce Lee, no, he died, but Jackie Chan sort of lasted way longer than that, and now he's seen as he's just a normal guy like the rest of us. But he was sort of locked into that in the beginning, he's the magically knows all the martial art because he's Asian. That's all Asian people do, and it's just bullshit. Asian people is a really good, a better representation with something be like Short Round in Indiana Jones. So he is a stereotype. He's got the accent and everything like that, but he's just a normal kid. He's just a normal kid with normal kid problems, So we did kind of get out of that, which was good. But it did last for a long time, a hugely long time. You guys can name examples, I'm sure, but so the Native American one still crops up. That hasn't gone away, and it still crops up. But you see something like what was that, Letterkenny, which is a great series, and you have the natives there. It's a Canadian show, and they live in a small town called Letterkenny, like a rural community, and there's the native groups there who live on the reservation, but they're absolutely not conforming to that stereotype of listening to the wind and all this kind of bullshit. They're depicted as normal human beings with normal human being problems, and it is, even though it's a comedy, it's like a really good positive depiction because they're people, and I really love that.
Well, often comedies, I mean, there are comedies where they have really ham-fisted stereotypes of different cultures and stuff, but I have I have often seen comedies do a better job of actually representing a different person, a different culture and stuff. Like the best depiction of a Greek is in MASH in the series, the episode with the Greek
MASH.
regiment. Yeah, the episode with the Greek regiment that is stationed, like is taking some kind of break there. I don't know. Maybe they have some wounded. I don't remember very well. But it is also Easter time, and they are all receiving these care packages from Greece, from their families for Easter, and they are all inundated with food because that is what happens.
Yeah.
and the whole skit with the live lamb that somehow a mother manages to send to her son, and everyone wants to eat, but someone wants to save it and all that. All of that actual good representation of like Greeks being in a group, in a loud group, basically. So
Okay.
I have never seen it anywhere else. So yeah, I'm still impressed after all these years.
It's an outlier in an early good depiction. But okay, so there's the benevolent sexism stuff, which still crops up. I mean, one of the good examples of that is when you have these bad examples of that, I suppose, but good examples, is when you have the stand-up comedians saying, yeah, let me tell you about the difference between men and women. And you just go, oh, please don't tell us the difference between men and women. No. And it's usually Gen Xers though. Like we're all Gen X, and our generation is the ones that keeps on doing this. Like we still have people in our generation who continue to do these old stereotypes and stuff like that.
Yeah. I will admit that I will laugh if it is well done.
Yeah.
The joke.
There can sometimes be real insight there, which helps it be funnier, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, stereotypes like that are based on cultural differences rather than actual real, like physical gender differences usually. So, and cultural differences, they do exist. So, often stereotypes have a grain of truth that they're built around. So, yeah, you do have a point there. But, yeah, I mean, the problem comes when people mistake cultural differences for, like, biological or, actual things that are part of the human race. It's like almost, women are born with long hair and men are all naturally muscleheads who have only care about sex and stuff like that. And I think, that's the one I really hate. It's when people go, men, we're always thinking about sex. And women, they really want something that's more caring. No, women are just as much horn dogs as men in reality. Like, God, just realize that we're human freaking beings, and there really is no freaking difference.
And the thing is that no person, at least if they are within the range of mental sanity, let's put it that way, if they are generally operational units, people are nuanced and they are not horn dogs all the time.
Exactly.
In the sense that, there will be times that's all you are thinking of, and there are times that you haven't thought of it at all.
Because the opposite is true too. Like men are not all horn dogs, and women are not. Like there are people who are like you say, there are times where that is furthest from your mind, and there's plenty of men who are not like that at all. Just like there are plenty of women who are not like sexually obsessed. So this happens. But there's a spectrum, but it's not gender specific. It's over both genders or all genders, whatever.
And unfortunately, unfortunately, we live in a society that is obsessed with that. Like everything is sexualized, and people sort of are conditioned in a sense. And I actually can back that up with research. People are conditioned to look at things through certain lenses, one of which is sex.
Yeah.
And that is a learned behavior. It is not because people like, oh, everyone is about sex. No, it is that you, from a very young age, you are told that sex is extremely, like, vitally important to your everything, to your day-to-day life. And that's how you get people, you know, having things that trigger them, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so it's one of those things. There's nature and nurture. It's a mixture of those things. And like you say, like, people too often dismiss nurture. They too often dismiss the cultural aspect of this stuff. But it's extremely important.
Absolutely.
This stuff, these things influence each other all the time. It can be like a vicious cycle or recursive in that, we have a breeding imperative. So obviously we need an interest in sexual things, but then that creates this cultural thing around it, and that builds up, and then that influences us more, and blah blah blah. So we have those kind of things, like it's a self-perpetuating kind of thing. There we are. It's like anything else. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, in general, you have to pull it back to, like, art and narrative works and stuff. I think we're going through this era of really going to town with this sort of quote unquote positive, like affirmative action in stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you have the ladies that are perfect from the beginning, always perfect.
Yeah, that's benevolent sexism.
Yeah,
so it doesn't allow the women to be real human beings. It means they have to be avatars of perfection. Oh yes, I have to work 10 times harder than any man to be in this position, which yes was true for some early executives and stuff like that. But when we're dealing with real human beings, you've got to, like, dial back on that kind of bullshit, man. You've got to, like...
It's not just that. I mean, that does exist. You could have a situation where a woman has to work like 10 times harder to get the same rewards as a man. But beyond that, that doesn't mean that she will not make mistakes, or that she doesn't have resentment, or that she doesn't have ambitions, or she doesn't feel like she doesn't know how to get out of certain situations. I mean, in general...
Or she would get run down by that kind of stuff. If you're working 10 times harder...
burning the candle on both ends.
You're going to have massive stress, and that's going to lead to, eating disorders and other kinds of stuff, because that's not the superhuman. Yeah. Which, whereas... I mean, if you're creating a perfect character that doesn't have any of those stresses, then that becomes like a negative kind of character, because people look at that character and think, women will look at that character and think, I could never live up to that kind of thing. What the fuck?
Yeah. And exactly. Or you have, like, the guy... Like, lately, I haven't seen all these many, like, super positive stereotypes for men, but I have seen, like, the amazing guy that is like the nice guy that gets the girl in the end, but is not, like, he's the opposite of the jock, and I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, like
I think so.
the nerdy guy who wins in the end and all that.
Yeah, but he's also always right, and he also never has issues to solve. He's just there to receive the girl eventually.
Yeah, I mean, that trope used to be more present in the old days, not in the old, like maybe 20 years ago or something like that, but it's tended to blend out. But yeah, so Revenge of the Nerds is a great example of that. So we've got, all the nerds winning and being right and perfect in everything we do, especially in the first film, where some really, really dodgy things happen if you watch that film again, Revenge of the Nerds, and you think,
No,
okay, oh, all right, this is really problematic. This is bad.
Yeah, there's. I haven't seen it in many, many, many years, but yeah, I know there's one scene in particular. I still see it referenced that is extra creepy, and it's kind of like you can't believe it was even in the movie back then. But
yeah, really. Wow. And there were a whole bunch of ones that copied that too, so they weren't alone. There were a whole bunch of fake Revenge of the Nerds. You still see it in Japanese anime, actually. There's it still pops up, that trope. It hasn't died out. It's died out in Western media.
The trope of the you think you're with someone else, but you're with someone else. Is that what are we talking about?
Oh, not that specific thing, which is bad, but like the nerdy guy who is like really perfect and better than the jocks and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that pops up all the time in anime. So yeah, that died out.
And the thing is, I remember that it was very refreshing when I came across this version of Spider-Man. I don't remember which one it was because sorry, I remember nothing these days. But you have, what's the bully? The bully's name? Flash, thank you, yeah.
Oh, really?
So we start off with Flash being like the jock bully sort of guy, and then Peter gets beaten and all of that, and then his uncle dies, and after that, Flash is seen approaching him, so we expect him to be a blip hole. And he just goes and offers support because he understands that Peter is mourning, and that I found very, very refreshing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually I saw it in two versions. One was a version where Peter was not the one who was beaten. It was this other girl that became Silk. And he became a scientist in Oscorp. It was a nice what if, and he ended up getting shot instead of his uncle, and that made him lame in one leg. And then Flash comes and says, like, stop picking on him because that is like disgusting. So
they become friends.
And then they become friends. But the point I'm making is that you have this jock guy that has nuance and limits and humanity in him.
Yeah, he's not just a stereotype of
Yeah.
violence and meanness and stuff. Well, actually, speaking of that, the things that subvert stereotypes, like Family Guy and what's the other one related? American Dad. So I hate Family Guy, to be honest. I really don't like it. But, as they have this terrible way that they treat the girl character in that family, Meg, that's her name. There's always, oh, Meg. You know, they're really always being mean to her. But, which, you know, you'd look at it and you think, oh, this is... But they're not sexist to that character, not necessarily. But the positive thing is they actually treat her like a real human being. Like, they're not like babying her or like saying, oh, Meg, yes, you're extra special, you're this or that. They're being like real docs to the character, but they're not treating her like kid gloves, like people would always like initially do with the Lisa Simpson character and characters like that in animations. So even though that family is real super dicks to Meg, they're actually giving a female character a chance to be a dork, to be a human, and to be, you know, someone who is like fails and just has normal kind of human traits, which I love. I don't like her being bullied by her family. I think that's awful, and I don't really like the show. But I love the chance for a female character to, have that kind of range, which was so rare in media generally. There was always a real limited range, I found.
I heard the writers of the show Futurama in its early years talking about one of their characters, Amy.
Oh, yeah.
And her kind of clumsiness and like being goofy and falling, and you don't see her much, so you don't get a whole lot of it. But that was a specific effort with a couple of moments for her to say, like, well, let's have a female character doing some of these things that
Fry does.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
sort of give that.
That was a good example because Fry is the goof, and he does all the dumb things. He's a dumb guy, and we had Leela being his female counterpart, who's more superhero, and she's always right, and she's always
action,
smart.
Action girl and everything. Although she has her flaws as well. I think she's well developed.
Initially, she didn't as much.
Yeah.
But as the show wore on, she was able to be more human and to have, lusts for stupid characters. Like her and Zach Brannigan have this weird kind of like lust thing happening every now and again, which is like a real like stupid failure on her part. But that's fantastic that she's allowed to do that. And yeah, Amy, very much. She's a dumbass, just like Fry, which is great. So he's not just, the dumb guy, whereas Leela's like, the special action woman. So they don't conform to those stupid stereotypes, and they break out of that benevolent sexism kind of trope that they could possibly get stuck in. So well brought up, Baines. That's really good.
They were quite good with that. I haven't seen that show in years either, but I loved it in the early years.
And another show that breaks away from benevolent sexism is Avatar: The Last Airbender. At least the first one, because the second one I haven't really seen as much, Legend of Korra. But the first one, which I'm always a fan of, they have a wide diversity of female characters, and they have distinct personalities that are not linked to their being girls or women.
That's important.
Yeah, and it's not that we have all the warrior girls, they are all basically men in boobs.
Yes.
We do have like a super powerful character. Like the most powerful character, in my opinion, is the blind girl. That is the earthbender. Her name is Toph, and I think that she's seriously OP. For a little girl, she's scary. Okay. Beyond that, though, I mean, she has an amazing personality. I love her. But we also have like super effeminate ladies that do not know how to fight and have their own thing that they have to do, and so on and so forth. Same goes for the guys as well. I mean, you don't have. They are not stupid guys so that the girls can look perfect. They all have a range and their own arcs, their own developments and issues and challenges. Like one of the main characters is a sexist. He starts off being like, "Oh, you are a woman, you cannot do this. Oh, you are a girl, well, I should be the guy that protects the girl." All of that.
Okay, you mean like her brother?
Yeah, Sokka. He's the like super sexist, and it's not just a token sexism. He really leans into that in the first season, but that's part of his development, in that his experiences teach him that this is not a correct way to approach girls and women.
And very much.
And I love that. I have very rarely seen that depicted on any show, and I love that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things like that where we have a manifestation of benevolent sexism, like an older manifestation, the being protective of girls.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, you can't do this because you might get injured because you are the ones who bring up the babies and stuff like that. So we have to protect the women, which means, like in reality, we think we're being good and positive by protecting them, but in reality, you're just babying them and making them not be able to be normal human beings. You're restricting them. You're putting a leash on the women, which is really bad. so don't do that.
Yeah. And the thing is that you have to strike a balance in this. Like, obviously, if she cannot fight and there are swords everywhere, you should protect her.
Yeah.
And you can, of course, right? Because if you can't and you try to protect her, that's stupid.
Yeah.
In the sense that you should both run rather than, one being the hero. And also goes vice versa. If the man cannot fight, doesn't know how to fight, or can't fight, and the woman can, the woman should be the one to do the protecting. And that
Exactly.
should be
Play to
fine.
your strengths.
Yeah. It's a thing of practicality. Like,
Exactly. A bit of trivia about Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was watching this really shitty film on Amazon Prime called I'm a Cheerleader, and it was about this cheerleader who had who all her friends reckoned she was gay, and her family reckoned she was gay, so she was forced to go to this gay camp where they'd be taught not to be gay. So it was one of those things.
Oh no!
But it was a silly comedy though, and like RuPaul was the guy who was in charge of making them not gay, so it was obviously a satire. But one of her best friends at this camp was this little Asian kid, and I thought, I recognize that guy. I recognize him, and he was like extremely gay. And it turned out to be the Rufio from Hook, if you remember that.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Who's also the guy who does the voice of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, I think the guy that played Rufio played Zuko, I think.
Okay, yeah, not Avatar. It was the leader of the Fire Nation. Yeah, the kid.
Yeah.
He wasn't a leader, but whatever. He was the Fire Nation kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. You're right, Tans.
I'm just a fan, that's why.
yes, I can't believe I made that. Yeah, because I think a woman would have played. Oh no, it was a boy who played Avatar.
I think it was a boy.
Yeah, but younger.
The thing is, not the thing is, another fun trivia is that the tough character, the blind girl that Earth bends, originally was supposed to be this big, muscly guy, like a tank sort of guy. And then someone dropped the idea, like, why don't we make her a small girl with this immense power to move around the Earth? And for me, that was a stroke of genius.
Yeah, because you're not like conforming to the idea of it's someone who moves Earth, so there must be a big, tough guy, because you don't need to be a big, tough guy if you got magical power that can lift up Earth. Like, why?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you may as well do a bit of a change, and that makes it more obvious that this is magical power rather than physical. Yeah, it's a good show, Last Airbender. I did watch quite a few episodes of it, but there are so many episodes. it's just Yes. But yeah, okay, so benevolent sexism, benevolent racism, where have you guys sort of seen it crop up? I always find it annoying. Like, I mean, okay, so there is this thing, this sort of battle between that and positive representation. So, and they do cross over in a lot of ways. So, I don't know, you want to represent people who traditionally don't have that representation. But in doing that, you have to show them as being human. You can't show them as being all superhuman, which sort of undermines the fact that you're, doing that positive representation. So I remember listening to an interview with Patton Oswalt, this great American comedian, and he said, I got a lot of these roles for being the gay best friend because he's a bit weird looking and he's never going to be like the lead character. So they, put him in those kind of roles. And he said, look, I'll only be the gay best friend if I can be a dumbass. Because the gay best friend was always depicted as being like the magical Negro, offering, oh, girlfriend, oh, this is the hairdo you need, sweetie, and these shoes. And yes, you'll have this perfect situation. I have this best taste in clothes and design and everything. Whereas he wanted to be like a dumbass dressed in a tracksuit and looking crap all the time, So like a real human being.
Right.
Oh, yes. Oh, sweetie, I'd help you, but I just want to eat this ice cream. Just a normal human being instead of being the magical kind of gay best friend, which was a massive trope in the 90s because we were trying to do positive representation for gay people for so long, and that's how we sort of started doing it, by giving them the best friend of the ladies, in Sex and the City or whatever. And they were always, super perfect, and they were super fit and buff and looking fantastic with, the best ideas of design and hair. And that still pops up. Like, we still haven't killed off that stupid thing, but we have more realistic representations now as well, which is good. Mm-hmm. We have gay people actually allowed to be real human beings, which is cool. I always love that when that pops up. Right. When they're not just... stuck in those kind of roles. We have like Schitt's Creek, if you've ever seen that, which is a great show. We have a gay main character who is a normal person and who is like venal and selfish, and he's allowed to be a real person, which is really cool. And so often they're not.
Speaking of that kind of proper representation, I mean, in the sense that not as stereotypical. In the game that I play, Wizard 101, in one of the later worlds, there is this. I mean, you have worlds where the inhabitants are basically animals or different, like alien sort of creatures and stuff. So you are the only actual human there. You have very variations of humanoids and human-looking people that you start off with, but you are the only one that is actually from Earth.
Yeah.
It's another thing that I suppose that they will use in the coming worlds, but that's a different story. In any case, in one of the worlds where it is inhabited mostly by dogs and cats, which is hilarious in any way, we have this one character that is an explorer and scientist, and they are non-binary. You only understand that they are non-binary just because other people refer to them with these pronouns.
What, they, them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they the way they are depicted is that you cannot tell if the dog is male or female. It is sort of in between, like a non-binary dog.
Okay.
Because you have like dogs with big mustaches and very ladylike dogs, that sort of thing. So, it is amazing how smoothly this character is. Like they are an amazing inventor that realizes certain. They even have like an arc, like a small little arc in your arc that. They develop and they realize, oh my God, I am doing the wrong thing. I should do the right thing. That sort of thing. Okay. I love that. Like it's not mentioned like, hi, I am this non-binary dog, and it's not that. And I really appreciated that.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just introduced as a normal character like every other character.
Exactly.
And yeah, they're not, yes, I am non-binary, so I must be the new special person with all the special skills. And
they do have special skills, but it's not because they are non-binary.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, yeah, women, like I was saying, like with the whole sexism thing, like women can be like super intelligent and super great and stuff like that, but it's because of this person has those excellent skills. It's a person-based thing. It's nothing to do with their gender. That's the thing. Like, you can have a black person who offers fantastic advice and is really clever and is really loving and protective, but that's because of that human being. That's not because that's a racial trait, and that's the actual positive way of doing it. Like treating people like individuals instead of like gender stereotypes, or no, like racial stereotypes, whatever. It's fine for people to have positive traits as long as we don't stereotype.
Oh no, absolutely. I think the thing is, the more we get familiarized with certain categories of people that we weren't, as a society, I mean, that we weren't familiar before, the less these positive isms pop up in pop culture, because people are more familiar with this other, so you don't need the shorthand stereotype to depict this other.
Yeah.
So this is like, at least one of my theories, how this tapers out. Like the more people are used to, accustomed to mingle with, for example, LGBTQ people, the less you're going to see the magical LGBTQ character in mainstream, at least.
Yeah.
Movies and stuff. So on and so forth.
Very, very true, yeah. And so it slowly becomes more realistic, which is, nice. And these benevolent traits, it feels wrong to say benevolent, but like you say, it's a shortcut for saying.
I know what you mean. It does. The phrase is a little bit strange, even because it's like you're almost like it's a term that's like looking down or something.
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
The benevolent king. It's like sort of putting oneself in the position to be like, oh, I'm the benevolent one, or I'm, So I know what you mean, but it's a little bit of an awkward.
No, that's well said, and I think that's fitting because that's exactly what is done with this thing. Oh, we are magnanimous, and now we accept you into our fold as the weird good ones. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The weird good ones. Yes.
Yeah.
So, when you have, I mean, we apply it to every person who is like doesn't conform to the norm initially. So, like we say, it's not just sexist. It can be ableist as well. It's not just racist. Yeah. Like for blind people, they hear, they have these extra senses and like magical, and they're wise beyond their years, and because they have to be in touch with these things, and it's not treating like someone who's paralyzed and stuff like that. Yeah, they must be extra good natured, and we don't. We get away with treating them like real people with real problems, and like they could be dicks just like the rest of us.
Absolutely.
Well, you make me think of Curb Your Enthusiasm. A couple of episodes, like there's an early one where Larry David meets a blind guy who gets Larry to help him rearrange his apartment he just moved into, and this blind guy, like he wants to help him because he's blind. He's not able to arrange anything, but this guy is a prick. He's like so selfish. He's just a jerk, just like a lot of the characters on that show are, demanding and entitled and selfish, and it's really funny.
And that could very well be, depending on how, being that, is absolutely a product of how you are raised and how your environment teaches you. So
yeah. Well, yeah. It's an individual thing. I mean, and Larry David's not saying all blind guys are dicks. He's just saying that guy was a dick.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And because he is. The other blind guy down the road, he might be like, yeah, super, like an angel. This black guy, sorry, not black, blind. Oh my God. I'm the big racist here, like secret crypto racist.
A cringe thing, speaking of benevolent ableism, cringe thing that happened not too long ago, like, and when I say within the year, sometime within 2024, it happened. Our prime minister encountered this person in a wheelchair in one of his campaigns for some stupid thing or other, and he literally said, and I cannot believe I'm saying this. He literally said, "Oh, you are better off than all of us because wherever you go, you can be sitting." Like you.
Oh my God! What a freaking idiot! Oh, it's like David Brent from The Office. It's that character.
Like everyone else has to stand, but you are always sitting. So that's lucky. It's like,
oh my God! What a fool!
I know it is second and third and fourth hand embarrassment.
Yeah, it's cringe, basically. It's all the cringe. Yes,
and he has done that many times with many people that have disabilities. So yeah, he keeps doing it.
Go up to a blind person and say, "Yeah, well, you're allowed to have dogs anywhere you want. So that's so cool. I wish I could do that." Yeah. Oh my goodness me! Oh, the Google is going to cut us off. So thanks very much for listening to our benevolent racism, benevolent ableism, benevolent sexism, benevolent badism stuff.
Benevolism.
Benevolism. Yeah. That's excellent. Benevolism. I would make that a title, but it's too mysterious. Yeah. So bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.